Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 88 of Like, Share, Follow. And on this episode, I have the amazing Holly Clark, who's a marketing assistant with Travis Schultz and Partners here on the Sunshine Coast. So, welcome, Holly. How are you?
Thanks, Karen. I'm well, thank you.
Now, when did you graduate from Uni SC?
So technically, I only just graduated probably 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago. At this USC stadium, I had my final walk across the stage. But yeah, I finished my degree halfway through this year.
Excellent. And you have been working with Travis Schultz, which I must explain is a law firm here on the Sunshine Coast and quite visible on social media. I see them all the time on my LinkedIn. So, when did you start working with Travis Schultz and Partners?
So I started working for TSP at the beginning of the year in January, which was pretty exciting. It was a really big job for me to get. I was pretty stoked, and it's just been so much fun working for them since a very big learning curve. So yeah, very fortunate.
And what sort of things do you get to do for your role?
So it's actually a huge, broad spectrum of activities that I get to do. I get to do a lot of events, which are like corporate networking style ones. I get to do community events. I get to do a lot of like gifting and like referral thank yous. I get to do a lot of data, which is a bit nerdy, but I find it really interesting
I
and
love
quite
data too.
it's quite a satisfying job to do as well, like all the spreadsheets and things. And of course, I do all the socials with my marketing manager, Liberty.
Excellent. And so, how did you get the role at Travis Schultz?
So it's a funny story, actually. I got the job because I spoke to my dad and told him I was looking for some kind of work in this area, and he knew someone from his gym who had a wife in PR. So he passed on her number, sorry, and I basically just gave her a call and asked for some advice. It was a bit of a cold call and a bit of out of character for me to do it, but it really paid off to taking that leap of faith. And she was just super kind and super understanding of being a graduate and how daunting it is stepping into the world. So she just had some wonderful advice and some great connections for me. And she ended up introducing me to Liberty, and then I spoke with her and then eventually got an interview, and it snowballed from there.
Oh, well done. And well done on
Mhm.
being brave and putting yourself out there like that because
Yeah.
it really does pay off.
Completely. It's quite a daunting thing to do, but I think I knew from the beginning it's that's the way it works on the coast. Everyone knows everyone, and once you have your foot in the door, it gets easier. So
Absolutely. Like those networks are just gold.
yeah.
And tell me, what do you think set you apart from other graduates who may have been looking for that particular role?
Well, apart from having that initial connection, I think it just builds a bit of a layer of trust and kind of gives you a leg up when you step into the interview room. Um, but I also think that I was in a fortunate opportunity that I found a role that I really genuinely cared about the mission of the company, and I had values that aligned. And I think that's exactly what the employer wants, is someone who aligns with them. So I was just really lucky that I found a role like that. And if you can hold out until you find one, it just makes the work so much more enjoyable. And I feel like it really comes across in your work as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And so, what's been some of the best career advice that you've been given?
I have to really think about this one. Because I can't remember a specific moment where I've had a light bulb or anything like that, but I think it's just an accumulation of just watching people that I admire in the industry, yourself included. It's just that they're very adaptable to how the world is changing and how technology and media is changing, and that mastery over an industry isn't really a final destination. It's rather just, yeah, continuing to learn and being open to seeing how other people do things. It's really what's going to keep the wheels turning in your career. So I think, yeah, that's just been my advice so far. It's just like you're not going to get to a place of knowing everything or being the best or something like that. It's just being really adaptable and, yeah, just being curious about the industry and where you want to go.
Absolutely, it's really great advice. And so now, sort of reflecting on your time at university, even though it's still pretty fresh in your mind, what has been, now that you're out working, what has been some of the most useful skills and knowledge you gained at university that you really used a lot in your current role?
Well, I learned quite a diverse range of things because I might have mentioned I started at QUT in 20, that would have been 2017 now. It seems like that time's gone quite quickly. Um, Started doing business and creative writing there, which, although I didn't end up staying with that degree, I feel I had a bit of a basis of how business works, like the economy, marketing, managing, all those kinds of things, just a foundation of knowledge there. I had a bit of practice doing copywriting in my creative writing degree. And then I ended up taking a year off, thinking about what I wanted to do more, and ended up coming back to the communications degree, which just seemed to be a really good fit for me. Um, just yeah, I just found it really interesting. Yeah, I really loved doing the degree, but I think the main thing that I learned was people can see social media as a bit of a frivolous thing, and um, it's a fun job. You're just a marketing assistant, that kind of thing. But what I learned at uni is that there really is a huge responsibility on the communications and the marketing manager, and that marketing has such an important role in the brand's reputation, basically. And when things go wrong, that responsibility falls completely on their shoulders to fix it. So if there's one interesting thing I would say was like crisis communication. That part was fascinating to me, and although I've never had to use it yet, having that knowledge in my back pocket just gives me a bit of peace of mind. But basically, if you have like a reputation incident where someone posts something wrong, there's a bad review, um, it's it's having the knowledge to be able to repair that before it spirals out of control, unravels, and then it does some real damage to the reputation. So um, yeah, I think that was the overarching thing, is that social media is a very, very important and useful tool for a brand. And it's not always understood when you step into more traditional um, industries of the importance of it. So having that knowledge and introducing that into your brand or your company um, can be a bit of a challenge, but a really important aspect as well. But the other part would be just the all-encompassing education. Like there was so many aspects that we learned about, like traditional marketing and all the subliminal messaging that comes through. There's the importance of storytelling, there's analytics, there's just it can go down a rabbit hole. There was so much that we learned, and it was so interesting. And the best part that I found about studying at UC was that we got to work with a lot of Sunny Coast businesses. So we did like a lot of group assignments, as you know, with pairing up with businesses. And I feel like it gave me a really great introduction to being a professional in the field and navigating that whole world. And it was always a challenge, but so interesting. And it felt very real. It gave me the practical skills as well as the knowledge that we've been learning in theory and everything. So that was a lot of fun. I actually, my favorite one would be when I worked at World Environment Day Festival. So that was in must have been start of 2020 or 2021. Lost track of time now, but that was a really fascinating one because it was a big event. Went throughout the month. We had to promote like 20 events basically, and there were incidents throughout the team where people got sick and people had family incidents. So I ended up shouldering a fair bit for a while there while they handled their situations, and it was a huge challenge, but I had so much fun, and it was a massive, massive learning curve for me. So I feel really grateful to be able to have that connection. And Natalie Frost, who was the coordinator of that event, is still a contact of mine. So I got so much out of that, and it was, yeah, really a lot of fun.
Oh, excellent. It's, yeah, like I mean, we're big believers of applying theory to practice. So then you
Mm.
actually get that experience and then you can put it on your CV. Then you're not so, I guess it's not so daunting when you're going out because you have some experience behind you.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, you don't feel like you're stepping out with just like a few notebooks in your hand. You've got some contacts, you've got some experience, and it just yeah, you feel a lot more comfortable and confident stepping out.
Absolutely. Now, on the flip side of that, what has been some skills or knowledge you wish you'd learned at university that you really needed now that you're out working in the field?
So for this one, I would say it's definitely remedied by taking an elective, but video editing skills and photography skills is something that has been really put into practice basically every day when you're working in social media. So um, being able to edit the skills and overlay videos and overlay sound and it's just those like nitty gritty skills of being able to create a finished product that looks professional. That's kind of been an ongoing upskill that I've been working on. And it's not the most challenging thing, but it's there's a lot of elements to it, and it's yeah. Once you get the hang of it, it's not so hard. But I feel um, I wish I'd done an elective like that at uni. That would have helped me with that a bit more, especially like um, yeah, I would say especially when it comes to photography as well. You're on your phone, but you're still trying to make it look better, so it can have a bit of a fine line between like professional photography, which looks great, and like your mum's Instagram. So you're trying to find the balance between the two because like social media doesn't really necessarily need professional photography, but to be because you want to be relatable, you know, those kinds of things. So um, yeah, I think I really struggled with finding the balance with trying to take the right pictures and all that kind of thing. So just a practical skill in that regard was yeah something I've had to learn along the way.
Yeah. And so what sort of tools do you like to use for your video editing?
um, I've used a few over the time. VR Editor is an app that I use on my phone, generally because sometimes it can be challenging to send videos to your computer via Gmail, big files, that kind of thing. So just being able to edit it straight on your phone is nice and easy, and it's free. You can just yeah add on some free music if you need to, and yeah, it's pretty handy.
Excellent. And sort of on in that sort of line of social media, you know, we all know it changes every day. And that you're like right in the thick of it now, working in it in your role. So, what's been something interesting you found in the last couple of weeks related to social media? It could be a platform change or just something relating to social media that you would like to share with us.
It might just be a small thing, but I read this really interesting post the other day. I've been trying to work on my copywriting skills a little bit more, and this person that I follow spoke about the use of exclamation points in writing captions, and I found it quite fascinating because I find I've definitely been guilty of this in the past. Is when you use too many, you're trying to be conversational, you're trying to be, you know, bright in the way you're writing, but it can have a bit of the opposite effect sometimes and seem like you know, a cheerleader named Becky has written the post. Um, you're trying to not infantilize the voice of the brand. If and if you use too many exclamation points, you have a bit of risk of doing that. So and I think it kind of applies to when you're writing professionally as well, whether that be in emails or something like that, is using a full stop instead of an exclamation point can really go a long way for just showing confidence in yourself and yeah, just having a bit of maturity in the voice that you're writing. So yeah.
I'm so glad you said that because every in first semester when we're looking at sort of blog writing, I do a whole rant on exclamation points because it's like, oh, if you actually read the text the way it would be, you know, the way that it's written with an exclamation mark, it sounds very different to what you think
Yeah.
it is. So,
Oh, absolutely. I think it can be a bit of a scapegoat for colorful writing as well. So if you don't use the exclamation points, it like really challenges you to make the copy interesting in a different way. So
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I'm very against exclamation marks. So,
yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with cheerleaders called Becky, but
yep,
yes,
exactly.
I agree. It just sort of, I think if you can write really strongly, you don't need exclamation marks because your words and the punctuation actually without exclamation marks does that for you. So,
Mhm,
yeah.
completely. Yeah.
And tell me, what advice would you? Because now you're out working in the field. You were while you were studying as well, but you've sort of now made that journey from university full time into work. What advice would you give to emerging professionals still studying or just leaving as well, who are finishing up this semester about how to succeed in their careers?
It's a big question. Well, I really like the phrase communications breeds chameleons, because I think we we have such a broad degree that when you step out, you really, or even when you begin studying, you really don't know where you're going to end up. Um, and we're kind of those types of people that you can just enter into any industry and you can help. Like I started in the automotive industry and I've done a bit of freelancing for dance studios and things like that. And now I'm working at a law firm. Like I would never have imagined I would end up here. I don't know the first thing about law, but and I do now, but when I started I wasn't any clue what was going on there. But it's just about being extremely adaptable, and just going in with an open mind about what's going on. Basically, it's just yeah, just being able to be extremely adaptable and just have faith in your skills and your knowledge in what you do and apply that to the industry that you're in. Um, because yeah, it can really just be it can be quite a fun degree as well. That's the other part is um, it's not a straightforward line to you study study medicine, you become a doctor. You can go any which way you want. You can become a freelancer, you can work within an industry, you can start a business. Like there's just so many options, and I find that so fun and so interesting about our degree, and it's quite a unique situation in some regards that we just have a toolkit that we build upon throughout our whole career. And if you just keep adding to it, you're eventually going to find your footing somewhere. Um, but yeah, it's really just about pushing yourself to be brave, make those connections, because it really just goes such a long way. And I definitely am more on the side of introversion, but you really just have to take that leap of faith and it gets easier over time. Um, and I also think that just making the mental switch between I am a student rather than saying I'm a professional, I am a marketer, I am a communications assistant, that kind of thing is having that mental perception of yourself goes a really long way for building your confidence and just making you feel like you belong in that situation. Um, so yeah, that's a big thing that I would say is quite underrated is the word. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great advice. And my final question for our session today is the most important question of the whole live stream is who do you like, share, and follow?
Yeah, so I think I follow quite a lot of Sunshine Coast businesses to begin with. I follow a lot of community pages on the coast, um, competitors, all those kinds of things. I think just having a finger on the pulse and just trying to keep connected with what's going on is just a really good way to keep ahead with everything, and it also just makes you feel really like a part of the community as well when you know what's going on and you start to recognize people that come up often. But in terms of a specific person, there's um, a copywriter and a freelance content creator named Kelly Stone, who I follow on LinkedIn. And I just love her posts because they're um, just so well written and just so personal and professional. And yeah, she's just a really fantastic writer. And she's actually the one who I read about the exclamation points with. She just got some really great advice, and she's fun to read. So yeah, I would recommend having a look for her on LinkedIn if you get the chance.
So maybe you could tag her in the comments, so then
Yeah,
people
sure.
can
I can do that. No
her
worries.
too. That would be great. And so we've had a couple of comments from one of our viewers, Anthony Roberto, and he said, "Good morning, Dr. Karen Sutherland and Holly Clark from a very wet Melbourne. Thank you for your insight and career advice, Holly. Wishing you every success in your career progression."
Oh,
So,
thank you so much.
thanks, Anthony. And so this brings us to the end. Do you have any final words of wisdom to share before we wrap up?
Final words of wisdom. It's a tricky one because I feel I'm not quite in a place to be dishing out wisdom just yet, but just oh, I'm trying to think of something to say that could be helpful. But I really think that it's a marathon journey, and it's gonna be okay stepping out for the first time. It's not the easiest thing to do, but if you can start building connections and getting work experience before you leave university, I feel you have a lot of support while you're there. It's worthwhile to make the most of it starting your very first job under that support. So if it's possible, if you're able to do part-time, or if you're superhuman and able to do full-time and work at the same time, I would recommend trying to get a bit of work experience at university. I mean, of course, there is that internship course that we do in our final year. So yeah, definitely make the most of that and just enjoy it. And yeah, that's about it, really.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning. And thanks to everyone for watching. And we'll be back in a few weeks with episode 89 of Like, Share, Follow. So thank you so much, Holly. Have a good day,
Thanks,
everyone.
Karen. Bye.